And away we go. Welcome to the Unstoppables. My name is Bill Woodich, and this is the show where we turn intention into dollars. Think about it. Intention. You know, we can wake up with the best intents. We can have those goals, those aspirations, those dreams, those values that we want to make come alive for ourselves, that we want to make happen, that we can envision with crystal clarity. But unless we find a way, a bridge, a method, a means, and a will to make those things happen, all we have and all we'll ever be stuck in is intent. You've got to make your way forward by knowing how to cash those intentions into dollars. And dollars to me is not just about the sum of your bank account, what's in your wallet, or what you can buy. No. It's about creating those lifestyle options that make a better place out of this world. It may sound altruistic. It may sound like some idealistic, sappy guy just talking about doing something for the greater good, but everything you do is in the service of another. Or you don't do well at whatever it is you're attempting. To turn intention into dollars is something that I'm committed to provide for you. Something that has more of a way, more of a sinewed approach. That's Woodich's word of the day, sinew, S-I-N-E-W. That's another word for muscle. I don't want to give you fat. I want to give you a muscled approach. I don't want to sit here and go on some philosophical diatribe. No, I want to give you a muscled approach, and here it is. When you sit across the desk or sit next to another person, the first thing, the very first meeting, that initial acquaintance, if it's going to go further, it's only going to go if they're able to lower their threshold from instinctual fear and uncertainty to one that allows thought to enter. And that's you from an emotional standpoint. Before you can ever bring thought, you have to be able to lessen the amount of fear and instinct another person has when they first meet you. Now this goes way back. This goes back to that instinct reptile stem of our brain. It can't think, it can't feel. But that's the warning system. That's the guiding system. That's the protective ally we have in our brain that sees either a foe, a friend, someone that they should run from, someone they could partner with, have some kind of a fun with. And it's all instinct. But that has to come down. And here's how you do it. You want to make some conversation about that person, something you find of interest in their office, something you find of interest perhaps that they're wearing, but a genuine interest that's not so much small talk. You and I both know it might be, but you want to get that person talking about themselves, because what they're doing right away is they know why you're there. They have an expectation, a barrier up, and they also have that instinct field up. You've got to be able to lower that field by getting them to talk about themselves. And this is where my wider school and wider approach to knowledge, very, very thin maybe, knowledge, not so much deep in any one place, but just reading, learning, and then using that for effect. Here's an example. When I was a kid growing up, we used to fish in this lake. And they used to have this fish in western Pennsylvania. It was called a muskellunge, a muskie. Had a lot of teeth. And those teeth are really like razors. I mean, they were just, looked like when you were a kid, looked like there were thousands, but there were a bunch of teeth. So these big fish with big teeth, they had those razor teeth, we'd catch them. 30 years later, I'm sitting in an office with someone from Wisconsin. So I start talking about Wisconsin, talk about the Badgers, a football team, college. You just happen to go there. Started talking about what he wanted in a partner, what he was looking for to do business with someone. What did he expect from that person? And he used a really interesting quote. This is all part of getting a person to talk about themselves. and then taking notes and taking themes and writing those things down that they say that you can then use later to connect. He said, I want someone with skin in the game. I want someone with skin in the game. So we started talking about where we're from, what we did, and he was an avid fisherman. Caught a whole lot of those muskie with those teeth. And he said, you know, one time my father was taking the hook out, took a lot of his skin off. I said, so you're looking for a partner that's got that kind of approach. It's going to get in there, maybe lose some skin, have some skin in the game. And I wrote that to him later, right after the meeting, in an email. You want someone with skin in the game, kind of like the story you told me about your father. What did I do? What are you going to do with that? You're going to connect. You're connecting with something outside of the basic parameters of why you're there. And those things that are outside of why you're there, to get a new client, to enroll a new partner, to make your point and sell your product, those are the parts that connect the most. Those are the human elements of connection, and it exhibits your ability to not only listen, but to apply what you've heard. Because you see, in their subconscious, they're playing that forward, and it will become their conscious reality. That's what they're going to partner with. That's who they're going to partner with. Are you paying attention to them? That's the key, is to get them to pay attention to you by first paying attention to them. The other thing you have to do, and I mean you have to do this right away, is set yourself apart. Become distinct and different from every other voice, everybody else. Think social media that's making noise on that platform. The same people are making noise in front of your customer, in front of your client, in front of your suspect. They're all saying the same thing. This is how great we are. Oh, how great thou art. We can do all these things. We're the biggest. We're the best. We've done this, and we've done this for Joe, Tom, Dick, and Harry. And maybe those guys are big. What does that say to your suspect or prospect if these monsters that you've done things for? Does that give you credibility? Maybe to a degree. But also in the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, maybe I'm a little small. You see, you have to make it about them. What I did and what I would urge you to do is something in psychology, which psychologists have termed cognitive, that means thinking, dissonance. And dissonance is something that's incompatible with what an expectation or a thought would be. So you're shaking up like a snow globe in the mind because people expect you to approach them from a certain place, with certain words, with certain brochures that highlight concepts of greatness. It's all an illusion. What really matters is what you do for them, what you will do for them, and how you relay and convey what their future will look like with you next to them. So I used to state the obvious, even when I worked for a huge company. Well, we're not the best at this. A person would look at me. No, we're not the biggest in this. We're not the biggest in the world. We don't do this very well. Now they're starting to go from hearing, which is just noise, to listening, which is now they're starting to assimilate the words. Now they're starting to listen with intent, and intent can turn to application if you're able to get their attention. And that's how I got their attention. They used to ask, well, isn't this where, because of course that's where all your competitors will be, isn't this where you tell me how great you are and how much you can do for us? No. First, I'm going to tell you what we can't do. Now, your suspect is listening. Now you tell them, but we do these things very well. And this is what is important, and this is what we do. Here's who we are, which is the most important part. Who are you? That's how I started a process of connection. And I furthered it by step 3. First, you're going to get in there and lessen that fear threshold by making them or finding a way for them to talk about themselves. Sometimes it's tough. They're going to give you one-word answers. That's why you're in sales. That's why you're going to make the money. That's how you're going to connect. The average aren't going to do that. They're going to shut down under their own instinct, try to throw up all the stuff about what they were taught about how great they are, what they can do, how they can change the world. And you know what? A lot of times your suspect doesn't want the world changed. They just want to make their little pocket of it better. That's it. That's the key. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to get out there and you're going to tell them what you're not. State the obvious, because they're going to find out anyway. They already know it. But if you come at them with the same stuff everyone comes at them with, you're going to shut them down. They're not going to listen. They're not going to hear. They're going to expect you to keep going on down the road, and all you're doing is taking seconds off their clock. And we all know what time is, how precious time is. You know how precious time is. You know that. Don't be a time thief. Don't steal their time. Next thing you're going to do is, as soon as you get to your car, or as soon as you get to your office, you're going to send an email thanking them for their time and thanking them for their consideration. And then you're going to take something, because you've been listening, from that conversation, because you've been taking notes, and you're going to send it back to them in quotes. It's going to be their words. Now, this is the gold of intention to dollars right here. This is the real gold. People aren't going to argue with their own thoughts. Not unless they're schizophrenic. I think that's what it is, right, Kels? Anyway, and maybe go in circles, unless they're me sometimes, because I'm debating inside. It's just kind of fun to do. See which side wins that day. You know, the devil, the angel. Do it. Don't. Do it. Don't. But, oh, there it goes. But they're not going to argue with their thinking, their thoughts, their position, their belief. Especially their belief. Put it in quotes. People love to hear the sound of their voice. They love to see their words spring to life from the screen. They love to hear their thoughts, and they love to know that you're paying attention to them. Bring it back. Just like I did when I talked about that fish. I was paying attention. I was making it something that was graphic. I was getting into detail and what he said. And then I connect what he said with what I want. Here's where we're going to get skin in the game. Here's what we're going to do. Now you're starting to lead your suspect, your prospect, because A, you've lowered the threshold of fear. You've raised some confidence that you're not like every other out there that's going to come in there and try to take something without knowing what it is they want. You see, your job is to find out what their intention really is. And it's a process. It's not an event. People generally don't tell you, here's my intention. I intend to do this. I only want to do this. I want to use you for this, or I really want to buy your product, or I'm really interested in making that change. Before people make a change, they have fear. They fear loss. They fear change. You've got to connect person to person. You've got to listen and show that you care. You've got to listen and show that not only do you care, but that you're capable. And they're never going to find out your capabilities until they first know that you care about them as a person. That's the way. That's how you start to bring value to any proposition you bring to the table. You can't bring value unless you first value yourself. Value the person across the desk or next to you. And you do it through a process of lessening fear, lowering the threshold, not trying to close too quick, just knowing that you have to get to next. Everything is about getting to next, not only on this one sale, but on the future of customer relations, client procurement. Whether you're out doing speaking, whether you're on social media, you want your next follower. You want the next follower. You want the next thing. So every time you show up prepared. Show up and know those three things. Lessen the fear. Listen. Create a thinking, a thought difference between you and the rest of the field by saying what you're not, and then getting that person to open up and listen to what you are. Otherwise, you're just like everybody else. And then put their words back to them, right back to them. Show manners, show respect. Those three things, start there. And I'll show you the rest if you stay tuned to this show. This is Bill Woodage. Be unstoppable. This is the Unstoppables. Get out there and crush it.